Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really high-stakes, fast-moving world, dry bulk freight trading. We've been looking at sources focusing on, well, a new way of doing things, powered by tech. It's centered around a system called FR8.no. And the claim, is pretty bold actually, is that it could fundamentally redefine how trading decisions are made.
Oh yeah, if you work in shipping, you know this environment. It's intense. Rates swing wildly every single day across hundreds of routes. And just the volume of data you're dealing with, it can be overwhelming. These sources we looked at, they claim to have found a way to cut through that core tension.
Right, that tension between speed and, well, just the sheer complexity of it all. Think about it, if you're listening, how many live routes can you realistically check? Or how many complex scenarios, triangulations, positioning plays, can you really calculate by hand before the market shifts again?
Exactly. Traditionally, you're just limited by how fast a human can work. Maybe you analyze 5, 10 routes really well. But the promise here, what this analysis is getting at, is a system that can run unlimited calculations. Thousands of live routes, all cross-referenced, generating strategic foresight almost instantly. It's really an argument that latency, that time delay, is no longer a competitive edge. Or rather, eliminating it is the edge.
Okay, let's dig into that, because the sources highlight something interesting. They say the biggest hurdle isn't really the tech itself, it's getting people to change their old habits.
Spot on. For decades, the industry's run on, well, spreadsheets, right? Screenshots, endless phone calls, and of course that crucial gut feeling from years of experience.
Which has worked for a long time.
It has. But the argument now is, in a market that shifts minute by minute, those same habits. They've gone from being reliable workflow to actually being a high-risk liability.
I need to pause on that because it sort of flies in the face of conventional wisdom. You always hear experience is king in shipping. But these sources are saying, essentially, the future doesn't reward the most experienced, it rewards the most adaptive. Is that fair?
That's precisely the point they're making. It's a huge mindset shift. If you can't process and react to the velocity of real-time information, your experience, valuable as it is, becomes, well, delayed, siloed. The argument isn't just, this is a more efficient tool. It's more like an imperative to adapt. They argue manual calculations become almost obsolete once you really grasp the speed advantage you get otherwise.
Okay, so if the old manual way is, let's say, broken, how does this AI, this FR8 system, actually turn all these scattered daily inputs, thousands of them, into clear, actionable strategy? Walk us through the mechanics. What's the engine look like?
It really starts with data density. This clarifies something we touched on. Step 1 is collect. The system captures live calculation data, but critically, it's generated by the users themselves daily. It's not people typing info in manually. It's the natural output of them running their actual deals, their calculations, right inside the platform. So all that collective activity basically creates a real-time pulse of the market.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense. It's leveraging the combined intent of potentially hundreds of active desks. So that collective activity then feeds into step 2, analyze.
Right. The AI and their proprietary predictive algorithms get to work scanning this massive data set. And it's looking across all the major markets, Cape, Panamax, Supra, Handy.
Right, for listeners maybe not deep in dry bulk daily, that's the whole range, from the huge Cape-size carriers down to the smaller handy-size ships.
Exactly. And this is where the intelligence part comes in. The machine is built specifically to spot hidden patterns, non-obvious correlations, leading indicators, things that a human desk, even a big, well-staffed one, probably wouldn't have the time or the scope to see.
So it's connecting dots we might not even know exist on the page.
Okay.
Which leads to step 3, forecast. These patterns the machine finds get translated directly into actionable insights.
Precisely. They start to indicate where rates are actually heading, not just where they've been, or where risk might be building up suddenly in the forward curve, or even where the smart money seems to be flowing next.
And that all comes together in the payoff, step 4, act.
That's the goal. With that instant foresight, the idea is you can commit, deploy vessels, hedge your fuel exposure, reposition your assets. You do it before the rest of the market fully catches on.
Okay.
And that's the key difference they stress. It's moving from just data aggregation to actual strategic action, right at the moment of insight.
So that's the theory. How does it play out in the real world? The sources gave a pretty concrete example, didn't they, about the timeliness gap, what was flagged last week, for instance.
Yeah, that was a good one. Last week, the live data apparently flagged very specific strength building on Cape-size routes, particularly Brazil heading to China, and also runs into India. But at the same time, it was identifying clear weakness starting to develop in the Atlantic Panamax market.
Okay, so if you're a desk relying on the old ways broker reports, waiting for fixtures to settle, updating spreadsheets, how long until you typically confirm that kind of split trend?
Based on the analysis presented, a traditional desk might only really start confirming that weeks later. Once the headlines catch up or the settlement rates finally bake in that change.
Weeks, but the FR8 users.
They acted immediately. The sources say they went long capes, took short positions on Panamaxes, and hedged their bunker fuel exposure, all based on those very early AI-driven indicators before the wider market blinked.
And the key distinction the source makes there is this isn't crystal ball gazing, it's not prediction in that sense.
No, exactly. It's about precision derived from current, observable market activity, just processed incredibly fast by machine intelligence.
It gives you an edge based on what's happening now, just faster than human processing allows.
Right, and that precision scales. They mentioned a small test run, fed just 132 live calculations into the AI. And even that small batch produced clear, actionable recommendations.
Okay, only 130.
Scale that up. They average over 30,000 calculations like that daily across the platform.
Wow.
That sheer volume turns all that individual activity, that collective intent, into genuinely real-time global market intelligence.
Let's zoom in a bit more before we wrap up this section. Section 4 in the sources gave us a specific tactical playbook. It was generated from metrics flagged last month. What were those raw data nuggets? Let's maybe define terms quickly as we go.
Sure. They saw several specific routes tightening up significantly. The data showed Santos, which is in Brazil, shipping to Qingdao in China.
Yeah.
That route was up nearly 4%, 3.9% week on week, which signals, Brazilian exports are probably tightening vessel supply, giving owners more pricing power. Then there was a steady climb on Santos to Chittagong in Bangladesh, showing strong demand from the subcontinent. And Santos to Jebel Ali in the Middle East was also firming up hard. Another demand pull.
Okay, so a clear strengthening signal out of East Coast South America, ECSA, specifically for the big Cape vessels. What about across different market segments?
That comparison was really stark. Panamax FFAs, that's the futures market. Freight forward agreements.
Right, betting on future rates.
Those were actually softening, going down.
Yeah.
Walk Capes were surging upwards, a clear divergence. And crucially, another risk was flagged. Bunkers, ship fuel prices were creeping up in key hubs like Gibraltar and Singapore.
Signaling a potential squeeze on fuel costs coming.
Could be, yeah.
So this is where the system connects the dots, right? Takes those data points and translates them into an immediate response strategy for the user. What was the tactical playbook it generated?
It was pretty granular, actually. First, fix early on those Brazil-Asia runs, lock in rates before the curve fully catches up to the tightening.
Get ahead of the market move.
Exactly. Second, build COAs. Those are contracts of affreightment, long-term deals, but build them with maximum flexibility. Don't get locked into rigid terms. Third, and this is interesting, it suggested running specific triangulations, three-leg voyages, like ECSA to the Middle East, then onto India, because the data showed that specific combination offered much stronger TCEs.
TCEs, time charter equivalents, basically the ship's daily earning rate.
Correct. So it's finding the most profitable route, not just point-to-point.
That triangulation piece is fascinating. It's not just reporting rates, it's actively finding the highest margin pathway.
That's the idea. And then the macro advice was very clear, too. Go long capes, short panas. Simple as that, based on the divergence. And finally, to deal with that flagged fuel risk, cap your bunker upside exposure using small options contracts, a specific hedging tactic.
Wow. So that entire detailed strategy fix early, build flexible COAs, run specific triangulations, go long short, hedge fuel it's generated and ready to go.
Before most trading floors have finished their morning coffee, potentially, that's the speed advantage in action.
Okay, this efficiency sounds powerful for, say, a single trader or a small desk. But trading is collaborative. Did the sources get into the network side of things? How users connect with their brokers, owners, their own chartering teams?
They did, yeah. Users can easily connect within the platform. And this brings in a really neat concept they call controlled transparency. It seems designed to address privacy worries.
Controlled transparency? How does that work?
So when you connect with someone, say your broker, you can both see each other's live bid and offer on a potential deal. These are like the visible edges of the negotiation.
Okay, the key numbers.
Right. But crucially, the system doesn't reveal the private inputs, the detailed numbers or assumptions inside your calculation. That stays hidden.
Ah, so it helps you align quickly on the crucial deal points.
Exactly. Without forcing you to give away your secret sauce, your proprietary calculations or strategy that got you to that bid or offer.
That's clever. It facilitates rapid alignment and action, leveraging the network.
without sacrificing your competitive edge or confidential info. It lets teams sync up in seconds and move, which is vital in this market.
Makes sense. And what about for purely internal use? Can a desk create its own benchmarks within the system?
Yes, that's another feature they highlighted. You can create your own internal live calculations. These are totally private to your desk. They essentially become your team's proprietary market pulse.
And they update automatically.
Every 15 minutes, synced across mobile and desktop. No manual updating, no exporting data. It's like having a constantly refreshing personal dashboard that's always tied into the live global market data from FR8. So you have that intelligence whether you're, on the road, at a terminal, or back in the office.
So if we pull back and look at the big picture impact, what this system seems to be offering isn't just raw speed, it's fundamentally about achieving clarity, isn't it? Seeing a clear, actionable narrative when everyone else just sees market noise, market chaos.
That's a good way to put it. It lets you anticipate where the market is likely going, while others are still reacting to where it's been. The sources really emphasize that the end result is about turning that volatility, which scares a lot of people, into actual profit opportunities. It allows you to allocate your capital, your ships, with real conviction, because it's backed by this layer of machine intelligence.
So you stop chasing the market and you start potentially leading it, or at least moving with the very first ripples. But that does raise a critical question the source material really pushes you to think about. If this kind of foresight becomes the standard, if everyone adopts this tech, doesn't that advantage just disappear? Doesn't it get competed away instantly?
That's a fair challenge. The sources kind of address that by framing the ongoing advantage less as pure prediction and more about the continuous maintenance of that insight. Because the intelligence is constantly being fed and refined by live user activity, the system's view of the market is always adapting, always learning. So the edge remains dynamic, it's not static. The sheer speed of insight continues to be the key differentiator, even if the tools become more common.
Okay. So the advantage persists through continuous adaptation fueled by the network's activity. That really is the challenge for the whole industry, isn't it? The next phase of shipping competition might not be about who works harder.
But about who sees further, faster.
Yeah.
The market's always going to be fast.
Yeah.
That's a given. Your edge becomes how quickly you can align with the actual underlying intent driving those moves. This kind of system aims to turn what was, for a long time, a very reactive, often analog business into something more predictive, more digital.
And just before we finish, there was one final, quite unusual detail we wanted to leave listeners with. It's a fascinating point from the sources about accessibility. Registered users can apparently use a specific WhatsApp number.
Right. This stuck out to me too. They can send a message to this number, +47 940 88988, and just ask the system for forward values, like, what are the rates looking like for the next 12 months in dry bulk? And get an answer back.
Just via WhatsApp.
Yeah, that level of accessibility, getting sophisticated forward curve data through a simple chat message, is quite something. It really brings us back to that core question posed in the material.
Yeah.
It's not really, can you afford to change your habits anymore? It's more like, when insight is potentially available that instantly, even through a quick message, can you really afford the luxury of having blind spots?
Every manual calculation potentially being one more blind spot?
Something to think about. Definitely something to explore.